What's going on, everyone? Today is day 32 of the 90 day my own challenge. Really awesome start to the day, getting a lot done. And today is going to be part 2 of, running the numbers, and another opportunity for me to get more comfortable with doing math in front of people on live, which is really uncomfortable for me right now, but it's all right. So we're going to review the deal that we currently have up on the board. This is the same one I did, I think, 3 days ago. So over here in this column, we have our cash to close. And again, we're not looking at what ARV is, because again, a bank is going to lend off of whatever is less your ARV, so your after repair value, or your total cost. So of course, total cost on this one is $110,000. And so that's what we've gone. Of course, that is the renovation plus the purchase price, with how a bank would look at total costs. Sometimes you can get them to add in the closing costs, the holding costs, but we're going to run worst case scenario and just assume that as far as total costs, are just going to assume purchase price and renovation. So over here, this home is $100,000. Our down payment was 20%, or $20,000. Closing costs were $2,000. I rounded down and assumed a 1% origination fee for our holding costs, and that cost, or that 1% origination fee, is going to be from a bank or some other lender. Our holding costs, so I'll do PITI times essentially 6 months, but last time I couldn't do some basic math in my head, so this should really be 4,200. So 6 months of PITI, but again, I just rounded down to 3,000. Again, not because that's the correct way, because I just couldn't do the math in my head. And then the renovation, of course, we're assuming that we had to pay for, we had to put 20% down of the 100,000. We have to put 20% down of the renovation costs. And we have our reserves. Again, this is where some other people could disagree with me in terms of running numbers. They could say, well, you don't need this. This is not a function of your total cash to close. But to them, I would say, okay, so you buy this house, even though this may not exist, this 4,200, even if you've got that in your savings account, how you spend or how you invest that money could drastically differ because of this deal. Like, you may have gone out and bought a new car with this, but now you can't because you need it sitting around for some sort of reserve, and a bank's going to want to see that as well. So that's why I go ahead and just factor in here. So that brought our total cash to close, so total money out of pocket, $31,200. And then over here, we're looking at, does this make money on a monthly basis? We assumed a rental rate of $1,200. And then here's the core 4, your vacancy, repairs, property management, and capital improvements. And I assume 7% of gross, 8%, 10, and 10. Those are numbers that I'll generally use. Again, part 3 will be breaking down why those numbers are what they are. So our $1,200 minus these gave us $780, minus tax and insurance, $200. Got us a net income of $580, minus our PI, so our principal and interest, so our debt payment every month, left us with cash flow of $80. And then again, I don't really look at cap rate. I like looking at DSCR, because that's what a bank's going to use. It's also a function of debt, a function of cash flow, which I prefer a lot better than a function of a net operating income. Net operating income doesn't matter to me at all, or doesn't matter, on the surface to me at all, because it doesn't matter how good your net operating income is. If you've had to borrow your money, your monthly PI payment from a hard money lender, and your cash flow is negative, well, then it doesn't matter that you have a great cap rate. I mean, a 12 cap property can still be negative if you can't get the financing terms that you need. That's why I like DSCR. Again, it is a function of this debt. And then also calculated the, so actually let's look at that. So that DSCR ended up being a 1.16. So a bank won't lend on this project. They usually need a 1.2. Now again, a bank may use different numbers for these core 4. But still, I mean, that's a question you should definitely ask your commercial bankers, what numbers they're plugging in for these core 4. So you can calculate what their percentage would be. But based off this, if I was the banker, I would not be lending on this project. And then our total cash on cash return, of course, is our $80 cash flow a month times 12 divided by our cash to close equaled a 3% return. So as of right now, we ran this as a rental. This deal is not something that I would be doing, not even remotely close as a rental. But today, part of being a real estate investor is being able to make a home work. Even if it's not exactly panning out as a rental, there's a few other strategies. And today I'm going to be talking about a lease option, which is my favorite strategy. And that's where they come and sign a triple net lease. So they're responsible for all the repairs, all the maintenance with this home, because they're basically signing an option to buy it in the future. So someone comes with this house and they put $10,000 down for the option to buy it, and then they sign a contract price at $100,000. Okay, so an important thing to note with a lease with the option to purchase is you do not want a $120,000 sales price, $10,000 option, purchase price of $110,000. You just gave them equitable interest in the home. That's very bad. That's going to have you in foreclosure court, which you want to avoid. One of the main advantages of a lease option is you can still evict because you have a true lease. So don't contradict yourself. Make sure that the option fee is a fee, and it in no way is tied to the price or your option price that you're giving them. But so let's look at this example and see how it kind of changes. So we have a buyer come in, and for $120,000 option price with $10,000 down. Okay, so they are signing a 2-year triple net. I'm going to flip it back around. They're signing a 2-year triple net lease term. So again, they're responsible for all the repairs and all the maintenance of this property. And they put $10,000 down as their option fee. Again, it's a fee, not a down payment, nothing like that. So you get $10,000 as a landlord. You get $10,000 up front, and you're not responsible for, again, the repairs. They should be on them. Your property management should be a heck of a lot less. Your CapEx, I'll get into that here in a second, but I still save it. And your vacancy should be 0. So again, you still have to account for the core 4, but it changes a little bit. So let's look at our cash on cash first, or cash to close. So as far as our purchase price, down payment, closing cost, none of this has changed because of the change in strategy. If this is a lease option as well as a rental, all this is staying the same. What could change is this. So before, you're having to bring or having to hold or having to be conservative with an additional $4,200 at 6 months PITI, where now you just got $10,000 up front. So you got $10,000 as an option fee from a tenant who's got, let's say, a 2 or 3 year option to execute that fee. Otherwise, that of course is non-refundable. So you don't really need, you don't really need this anymore because you've got the $10,000 now. Okay, so you've got a reserve for this property up front that you do not have to bring to the table. I would think it'd be very unwise to go spend that $10,000. You'd want to save this in this property's account or in this LLC's account in case this house were to turn over or you were to get it back. Okay, so without that $4,200, this cash to close, and you'll notice I'm not counting the difference. All I'm doing is marking that off. I'm not saying, okay, well, we have an extra $5,800. Let's subtract even more. I'm just saying, no, we have $31,200 minus this. Now we have a new $27,000 as our cash to close. Okay, the reason why I'm not counting the extra $5,800 is because, over here, before, when this is a rental, we're saving up 10% every month to build up a reserve account. We're saving up 8% to like all these right here are going into a reserve account in case this property is a turnover. $4,200 is not enough for this house. Again, we're saving a lot every month, but it's still not enough. That's why I'm not double counting that money. But so our new cash to close is $27,000. And now let's look at, which of course is going to affect our cash on cash return, which we'll get to here in a second. But let's look at our gross income. So the $1,200, that's going to stay the same. But again, the tenant is responsible for all the repairs, all the maintenance, all the property management theoretically, and all the capital improvements associated with this home. So our vacancy, I mean, they've signed a two-year option, let's say. Your vacancy should theoretically be zero now. I mean, if they move out, I mean, you're gonna have to turn the home, but that's why you don't spend that $10,000. You shouldn't really need to be saving for vacancy. Your repairs, same thing. I mean, they're responsible for all the repairs. You should definitely do a quarterly walkthrough and make sure that they're keeping the home up, but you shouldn't really need to save for repairs there. Okay, your property management. I have 10% right there. You don't need 10% anymore. It's going to be a lot less. You still need something. Let's assume $35, of course, and that is not adjusted for inflation. That is in today's dollars of how much it would actually cost a property management company or a servicing software to make sure that these payments are being made every single month at a minimum. Okay, and then our CapEx. Again, I'm more on the conservative side. I mean, if this tenant completely trashes his home, that $10,000 is still not enough. So I'm still going to save that 10% for the CapEx over here every single month. Okay, even though I've got $10,000, I'm not saving anything for repairs, but I am still going to save 10% for that CapEx every single month. Which means our new gross, so right here I have new gross, which of course is just our $1,200 minus these, or it was $420. It's not anymore. And our new gross is $1,045. Okay, again, that is $1,200 minus 10% of $1,200, $120, minus 35 is $1,045. We still have to subtract our tax and our insurance, and we're left with a net income. Sorry, I'm down here. Net income, it used to be $580 as a rental, and now we're at $845. Okay, so you see the difference. Dramatic increase in the actual cash flow of this property. Again, you've essentially flipped it because theoretically they are going to execute their option. They are going to buy this home from you. But hopefully it's after a year. You're paying long-term gains, not short-term capital gains. And for the short amount of time that you have owned it, your cash flow has gone up significantly. Or at least the portion of cash flow that you can take. Your principal interest, is that staying the same? Because your bank loans stay the same over there. And your cash flow change, so again, that's just the $845 minus the $500. Used to be $80, and now it's $345. Okay. Again, we're still setting aside this money up here to build this $10,000 up before we count this cash flow. This is actual cash flow that you could take. You could take home, you could spend, you could do whatever you want, or you could build this reserve account up faster and then not have to save for these every month. Again, how much money is enough money to have in reserves for a house? I don't know. Complete renovation, I'd assume $40 a foot. Going through times the number or the square footage is just an easy, basic rule. So I'd look at your home square footage and make that calculation, and you'll probably be disappointed. So you can leave that up to you. Okay. So again, a lease option compared to a rental drastically changes if this home was going to work. As a rental, this home doesn't even come close. The cash on cash is 3%. The DSCR won't even be touched by a bank. Again, they might not use the same core forward that I did as far as percentages of gross. They might be a lot more aggressive. They might be a lot more conservative. I mean, it depends on what kind of bank you're going to. But lastly, let's look at how this affects our cash on cash to find out, the cash flow looks good. I mean, as far as just looking at that generally, that's a deal I would do. But let's look at our cash on cash and see how it changes. Let me look at my cheat sheet. Okay, so again, we're calculating our cash on cash return here. So this is the $80 of cash flow. Okay, of course now that's 345 times 12 divided by, it's no longer 31,200. It's that new 27,000. So 27,000. Okay. So again, this is calculating our cash on cash return, and that comes to 15.3%. It was 3%, now it's 15.3%. And this is not factoring in this into your cash on cash, because I believe that's incorrect. Again, people may have some pushback on that, but I don't think you can spend that money, at least not anywhere in the near term. So 15.3%, not bad. I mean, it depends on what that return metric is for you. I would still not do this deal at a 15.3, but that's because, you know, real estate investing is my full-time job. I mean, I don't mean to, I'm trying to think how to put this, but it's my full-time job. I need to find deals that are better than that, okay? If you got a ton of cash, if you got a cash business or a salary and you're making a lot of money, 15.3, that's a great, you know, that's a great return, and I would see a lot of people doing that. Again, it's a personal preference. The other thing that changes, lastly, is our DSCR. Again, I like DSCR over cap rate because what it's a bank is what it's actually going to look at. Again, you need above a 1.2, and the reason I like the DSCR is it is a factor of your loan, not a factor of net operating income. Because again, it doesn't matter if you have a 20 cap property, if you have a terrible loan or can't get a loan, you know, it's not gonna be worth something doing. This is actually a factor of cash flow. So DSCR, again, it was 580 divided by the 500, and again, that 580 was our net income before RPI. Now it is 845. So 845 divided by the 500 equals, this is a 1.69 DSCR. Okay, it was a 1.16, now it's a 1.69. So as far as DSCR, that means that your net income can pay your net income can pay your principal and interest 1.69 times over every single month. Okay, so that is very good. Changing a rental to a lease option, which is essentially just another way to flip a home, could be a great way to capitalize on an increased cash flow in the near term, and then also being able to sell for probably a premium purchase price, as well as, you know, being able to take a lot of the property management out of it so you can do more homes. I mean, something that a lot of people don't realize is once you get like 20 rentals, you've got a full-time job. But 20 lease options, probably not even close to a full-time job. So if anybody has any questions about this model or how I did the math, just reach out. I'd be happy to walk through it again or talk about it on the phone. Anything to help people get involved in real estate, which I've mentioned adamantly has drastically changed my life, and it can change yours as well. There will be a part 3, probably not tomorrow, but going over why these percentages are what they are for the core 4. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow.